Your relationship with food is probably one of the most important relationships to master. And it is one of those areas in life that it ebbs and flows based upon what our emotional state is. The psychology of food is fascinating, and it's an area that I think we need to give a lot more attention to. In today's episode, I really want to talk to you about how do we navigate those emotions with food when seasons of our life are heavy, when the weight of the world is weighing on our shoulders, and we want to self-soothe with too much food or not enough food. If this sounds like something that you've experienced or you're interested in, today's episode is a must-watch. My name is Nicole Kale, board-certified holistic nutritionist, and today's episode is titled, How to Navigate Being Healthy During Tremendously Hard Seasons of Your Life. I've been there. I know it's tough. I have failed forward, and I can finally say after years of that suffering, I have mastered really what it means to have a healthy relationship with food, regardless of what's going on in the outside circumstance. So today, I want to talk to you about a couple of things. I want to show you how to identify how to establish a healthy relationship with food, even when times are difficult, and really how to better understand the psychology of your relationship with food. Here we go. Step 1, identifying your food archetype. Your eating archetype is super important. I know there's a lot of buzz right now with like the Enneagram. What Enneagram are you? Or what's your behavior type? All these different types of cool personality tests. And your eating archetype is very similar to that. And what we want to look for is just your raw personality, like who you are at your core when nobody is looking. And I want to give you an example. So there's individuals that are very delicate, just by nature. They're tender, they're soft, like they just wear a very sacred part of them on their sleeve that we get the opportunity to witness. Then there's like the superwoman, the hard, or superwoman or Superman. You're just like, boom, you're go, always blazing a trail where you leave. Like those are just personality traits, but you also identify how you're going to have a relationship with food. It sounds crazy, but it's very, very accurate. And when you're looking at your eating archetype, what that helps you understand is what is my decision process in food, and how does who I am at my core even influence any choices I have with food when the weight of the world is weighing on my shoulders. And here's what I want to speak about, and I want to give you an example. My personality type, my eating archetype is like a superwoman, period, end of story. I am all in, fully committed. I just want everything to be amazing, and this also transcends into my fitness. I'm the type that I do not walk the uphill. I am sprinting the uphill and like walking or jogging on the downhill. So identifying just those raw parts of your eating archetype will really help you understand how to handle the relationship you have with food when the weight of the world is heavy. And so it's really being real with yourself. And this kind of goes back to when I did an episode on the emotional eating, because it's all very connected. So the step 1 is just identifying your eating archetype. And if you're having trouble with that, I want to help you sift through it. DM me, email me, and I will definitely help walk you through identifying what is your eating archetype. The second thing, your emotional triggers. And this is a big one. Emotional triggers are going to be different. It really depends on how you process emotion, how you handle emotion. And I'm not talking about macro emotion. Remember, that's like anger, fear, scared, sad. Those are easy to understand. I'm talking about the emotion that is the root cause of the macro emotion. And that can be something like, okay, for example, right now, there's a lot of heaviness going on in the world. And you might be processing that and feeling fear. That's the big emotion. But really, what is that fear coming from? Is it because you're losing structure? So your identity is being changed a little bit? You're being forced into new habits? You want to dig a little bit deeper. That's the objective of understanding your emotional triggers. It's peeling back the onion layer of the big emotional side and getting to the inner ones that really matter. Because once you understand the micro emotions, it really will help you put systems in place to nurture that emotion, not ignore it, not bulldoze through it, not act like it doesn't happen, not putting on a front. I'm talking truly giving acknowledgement and nurturing it. And in order to do that, we have to be able to identify it. And the last thing is that you want to be able to build a plan around those two areas. So your eating archetype and your micro emotions. And what that can look like, let's give a relevant example so you can apply this right now when you leave this episode. We're going to use me as an example. So I'm an aggressive personality naturally, right? I inspect what I expect. Like I'm a deep researcher, and if somebody says something, I need to understand backwards and forwards and backwards, all the details. I'm the type that sprints the uphill, and I walk the downhill, okay? My natural emotional tendencies around certain things have to do with a lack of love. As a child, I wasn't raised in a really loving environment. And so for me, I use food to self-soothe. So the macro emotion is love. The micro emotion is feeling unworthy. Do you see where this is going? So for me, in order to plan forward when there is emotions that arise or there's a hard season in life, and I don't have to do this anymore. This is just my journey in the beginning, like over 10 years ago. But what I would have to do when I knew that, there was going to be a lot of stress at work or just something was happening in life that was heavy, I had to create hard lines with my diet. And that is what works for me. So when I say hard lines, meaning there was a boundary that I set, and that boundary would not be crossed. And as long as I had foods within the boundary of what is acceptable, it was very easy for me to feel happy, satisfied, and complete. But if I didn't set that boundary, I would justify eating through some of those emotions. And so what I want you to do is how I just walked you through that exercise. Do the same thing. Identify like who your overall structure is, your eating archetype, your tendency, the way you relate to food, how you think about food, and then the emotions that drive some of those decisions and that main archetype, right? Identify those macro emotions and break it down into the micro emotion. And then from there, you're going to put a plan that honors both those areas. I don't want you to ignore them. We cannot fake it until we make it when it comes to food or nutrition, or fitness or business. Eventually, it's all going to be revealed. And normally when it rears its ugly head, it is at the worst possible time. And then you're left feeling defeated and hopeless. And there's all these icky feelings that go along. But the way that we change that and create long-term permanent behavior is to nourish and acknowledge those parts and create a plan that actually feeds and gives understanding to who you are at your core. So maintaining health during a time of hardship or heaviness or like what is going on in the world today, it's so possible as long as you have a real vulnerable moment with yourself to identify those really critical areas. Once you can align those two things, you will be able to master health regardless of what is going on outside of you, because you're actually acknowledging you inside, those parts that nobody gets to see. I've had the opportunity to serve many people, and I get to see those little sacred parts. So I know when I'm speaking to you about this, you know what I'm talking about. It could be the binge eating of the ice cream. It could be you starve yourself. It could be you only find worth in your image, so you're so regimented and neurotic about your food that when times get hard, your only way of identifying worth is clinging to that structure so hard, right? It's different for each of us, but in order to make a change like that and to be strong and withstand the pressures of life and ride the seasons when they're bad and when they're great and not let that affect your health goals, is to understand the mechanisms that drive those decisions. I'm here in any way I can to help you through the hardships, to help you navigate what that means. If there's anything that I can do to help draw a little bit more understanding or connect some dots or give you that aha moment, please do not hesitate to DM me or email. That's what I'm here for. I am here to serve you, to actually, as a human on the other side of this screen with a heartbeat, make positive change in your life so it is something that is a part of you every single day. That's my goal. I know it can be challenging, but we can do it together. You don't have to do it alone. I really do appreciate your time. please leave a comment, share, like something, so I know that you are finding value in these episodes. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to being of service to you as always.